Hey folks, welcome back to Tampa, Florida Living. Today I'm joined with Clive Saunders and Philly Gilchrist from my team. Both these guys are agents. It'll take a couple minutes for some of you folks to jump on, but today we're jumping into Tampa downtown versus St. Pete's downtown. We're going to compare both areas. I kind of have four really good points I want to talk about. I want to talk about the layouts of both, how you can explore both, talking about some of the new developments that we are looking forward to. These huge condo high rises are coming soon. So I definitely want to jump into that. And then I kind of want to, pass the mic around, to the opportunity to talk about what's a little bit of our favorites from each. And then as some of you guys join us here and ask questions, I want to hear what you like about both, or if you have any questions, throw that in the comments and we can absolutely address those. So guys, let's talk about the layout of both. Either of you want to start with that? Like, what do you feel with the layout of both of those downtowns?
I would start with just what's nice about both. They're on the water, and
Yep.
you get to take advantage of these water views. The Riverwalk and Armature Works, just a good connection of just things to do. And you get a feel for family down there too. It's not just, go visit downtown and go out for drinks and dinner. Young people live down there and they're out with their pets and walking and enjoying the outside atmosphere.
Yeah, so we're starting to see a lot of living. You call it urban living, right? In some of these downtown areas where Tampa and St. Pete, we never really had living in downtown. It was always a professional district. They come in, they're out by 5 o'clock. It was a ghost town.
Commuter town for sure.
Yep. So yeah, what I'm seeing with these two layouts, the number one is, you mentioned Armature Works, and I'm kind of glad you did, because while that is not our downtown, it is part of our Riverwalk, which is 2.6 miles at the moment, and it'll eventually be 13 miles after the expansion coming soon. But our downtown is kind of spread out, right? So it's a little more spread out than what you would see in St. Pete. We have the Water Street area, the Channel District, downtown, which really the waterfront, like you had mentioned, on the water is really going to be where the excitement is for us in downtown. And so you do have to follow that Riverwalk coming from the south end, which is pretty much Sparkman's Wharf. And you have to follow that all the way up into, right around maybe the Straz Center, Convention Center kind of thing. That's going to be the section that's considered the south end to middle of the way downtown. But eventually, yes, you can get to Armature Works, which is another extension of that. St. Pete is kind of similar to that, because we have the St. Pete Pier, which I would say is probably a good marker of where that downtown area is. And there's tons of restaurants and all that. You can go one way and you go towards the Vinoy Park, which is, again, waterfront, or you can start to go in a little bit deeper and ride that trolley all the way over to Central, which Central, while it's more developed, would be that extension of the Riverwalk, kind of similar to like Armature Works, right? Yeah. So you think that's about fair enough of a
no,
I guess, comparison?
I agree. The one extra though I would give down to downtown St. Pete, for me, I love Miami Beach. Love to visit Miami Beach, and I get that vibe down on Bayshore Road in downtown St. Pete, where the restaurants are across the street from the pier. It has that brief, small setting that satisfies my needs. I don't have to go to Miami.
So. And that's a good point though, Clyde, because like when I go to St. Petersburg, I always get more of like a vacation feeling, right? Mm-hmm. A little bit slower of a pace, where when you're in the city of Tampa, you do have that mid-size city feel, because there's some speed to the town. So there's definitely an aura, right, on both sides where it's a little bit different, but then at the same time, they do have very similar traits.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, hey, folks, we got a couple of you joining us. As you start to join us, by all means, please drop any questions you have into the comments about either of the downtowns or maybe your experience, and we'd love to chat with you about it. We are live here, so we can do that. How to explore both of them. I think that's important, because it's like, all right, well, if I get to downtown, what do I do then? For me, there's a couple different ways of exploring, and I'll give you my quick version. Is the Riverwalk. You could walk, you could bike, you could skate. You can also go by boat. We have the Pirate Water Taxi in downtown Tampa. It's like a hop on, hop off boat. And And now you can even rent, kayaks, paddle boards, water bikes, electric boats. You can rent all that and kind of scoot around, which is kind of neat. So there are different ways of getting around there. And then we do have the trolley, which connects Ybor City to downtown Tampa. Eventually, they're talking about an extension, which will go up Florida Avenue and then cut over to Armature Works. So that'll really loop everything in. But for right now, it just gets you Ybor to downtown. That same trolley setup they have in St. Pete, and that just does a really nice square, nice circle. And it's on this one continuous route, which I think is a better plan there in St. Pete in downtown. So, and Clive, you and I, we visited St. Pete one day before shooting a couple videos. We really wanted to dive in and get that experience. We jumped on that trolley system and spent all day, and that was an awesome day, man.
It was. You know, there's lots of different parts to St. Pete for social and hanging out and restaurants. So it's not just that area downtown that faces the water. You go inside. Central Avenue, must discover. And it takes you right into the stadium.
Yep.
Right? The trolley will take you all the way up there. And I can't wait to see. I haven't figured out where exactly they're putting the new stadium, but I'd love to see that layout.
Yeah. Let's see. We got one little question, so I figured I'd talk about. Randall, thanks for shooting us a question. It said it's kind of like, or a comment. It's kind of set up like Chicago Riverwalk area. I see this part of town is growing really fast. Randall and Apollo Beach. What up, Randall? So yeah, I mean, it is. It's kind of, Chicago is obviously a much bigger city, and it stretches that Riverwalk. But you're right. You can kind of just right off that river, you can kind of shoot off, and there's a bunch of things to do, from restaurants and shopping and all that stuff. It's all just set up that way. It's really becoming an entertainment zone for our city and tourists alike. So anyway, jumping into some of the new developments, because I do want to talk about that. And then I want to get into the fun part, which is me. It's kind of like storytelling or sharing our experiences of the different areas. I'm just going to run down like kind of a quick list, right? Because there's a lot of development coming on both downtowns, right? Downtown Tampa right now, Water Street, which is our, beautiful section in that Channel Side area. That's getting ready to start its second phase. So we'll see an expansion there. Obviously, we have the Tampa Edition Hotel, which is the first 5-star hotel, and it does have the Michelin restaurant there in Tampa. Then coming off of that, if you're moving along the map there, we're going to have Gasworks. That's underway, as well as the Ybor Harbor, which has just been approved. So those are things that are going to be in the way that are just going to explode that section of the Riverwalk, that south end there. Then as far as you move to that middle section, I like to call it the Cultural Center. I just shot that in my most recent video on the Riverwalk. I call it the Cultural Center because that's where on the Riverwalk, most of our museums are kind of just, it's like a little hub there. But the Museum of Art has a $110 million expansion that's underway. The Straz Center actually has an $80 million expansion. It's going to have this new like veil looking exterior to it, kind of giving it like a overhang. And it's going to make it look like a futuristic looking building, I guess, really focusing on that waterfront. So if you're ever walking past the Straz there, they have food and they have drinks and stuff. It's not just the performing arts. So it's kind of like show and go dining and overlook the sunset Riverwalk kind of scenario. The other two big things are two big hotels in Tampa. It's the Pendry Hotel. That should be done in 2026. 39 stories. It's going to be one of those big boys in downtown. And then over by the Curtis Hickson area, about a block off of there, you're going to have One Tampa. And One Tampa is going to be a 42-story condo, luxury condo. And that's going to be our tallest building in the city. So that'll be really cool. And I think it'll change our skyline a little bit. Those are a few that I just kind of wrote down. And Red Wolf, man, you're always on here. I appreciate you. St. Pete is the new Fort Lauderdale. Not yet, but we are getting a little bit of that cosmopolitan look. So for sure. Now over in St. Pete is more developed. You're going to see a way more going on in downtown St. Pete. So some of those condos, since we're on that subject, is the Art House is a 42-story building. That should be ready in 2025. The Nolan late this year. 400 Central is a 46-story building. That should be done in 2025. And that will be the actual tallest building in St. Pete, and I believe one of the tallest on the coast. Then I just saw this in an article. The announced the Waldorf Astoria will be a 49-story building and the first 5-star hotel or luxury building, sorry, in St. Pete. That will eventually become the tallest after 400 Central. So, and then the last thing, which I think everybody's kind of excited about, is the new Rays Stadium. You know, that'll put it a little bit more in town. Clive, you touched on that a minute ago. I was looking at that. That's going to be in the plant the gas plant district in St. Pete, very close to kind of where it is now in that downtown area. Mm. And I mean, that thing's going to be huge. It's 80 acres. If you've ever seen the drawings of it, looks like an amazing setup. I mean, it looks like you can walk around the kind of pregame for your baseball games, or afterwards you can come out and then you can catch a dinner. It just looks like an exciting area all year round, not just for, baseball. So I'm sure they'll do concerts and things like that there too.
Yeah.
From what I do know though, that gas plant district was like the African American, area in St. Pete. And I want to say that that is where they used to train. I'm going way back, right? That was where they used to train baseball players. So I think there's a connection there. And I believe they're actually building, as part of that, they have to build a certain amount of residences. They're going to add a museum to that whole development. So that'll be pretty cool to see. So guys, yeah, I mean, I kind of chatted through a ton of development because I think that's important. So thanks for letting me rattle on. Folks, we got a couple of you on here. If there's any input, any questions, anything you guys want, throw it in the comments. We're live, so we can definitely chat with you guys, okay? So for me, I like experiences. This is what it is. So Phil, I'm going to jump to you first, man. You've been kind of quiet on here because I've been talking so much. So what are some of your experiences in either downtown Tampa or St. Pete? I kind of want to compare the two, but just give me your best of the best experiences.
Well, I mean, that's the great part about it, right? So downtown Tampa, you have the Lightning, right? You have Amalie Arena, so you have that ability, and then a concert venue, right? It's one of our biggest concert venues that we have. So you have the ability to, hit that aspect, now especially too, right around there. I mean, it's all types of dining. You have casual dining, you have that upper scale, where we never really had that before in the area. And again, just with we talked about that Riverwalk, it's that perfect perimeter. It just really kind of gives you could just walk it and it just leads you to things to do. So, that walkability now to have down there is awesome. And then again, obviously the future things to come. And then for St. Petersburg, for me, it's always been more of like hey, let's have a more relaxed night, go hang out, watch the sunset. I've always put St. Pete with more of that vacation, calm type of environment. And again, when I go stay, I always stay in downtown St. Pete for a night. I never really go to Tampa for a night, So
you're the sunset kind of guy, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to say so. I think Clive is too.
Dude,
I know Clive has his spot in downtown. I'm sure he's going to tell us that in a second. But
water therapy, it's underrated.
It is sun and fun, man. Sun and fun. What I will say is downtown, when I'm shooting these YouTube videos and I'm out, and I like to always interview people. I like to get kind of boots on the ground feel for the viewers. And I'll stop somebody on the Riverwalk. And it used to, I'd say a couple years ago, because I've been doing this 4 years now. It was a lot of times it was visitors, tourists, and you still get those. But now I'd say almost 50% of the time, I'm like, hey, can you chat for a minute? And they're like, yeah, I'm just going home. And I was like, oh, so you live here? I definitely want to talk to you. So I do start to see a lot more residences, and I'm talking about Tampa, people that live here. And that's kind of neat to see, because you are starting to see like, hey, man, they live here. They walk. I see people with groceries all the time coming from Whole Foods down by Water Street, walking home, or the Sprouts over by Armature Works. So it's kind of neat to see all that change in our city, And then, of course, when you go to St. Pete, they're light years ahead of us. But I love the development coming. So, Clive, you're a huge proponent of St. Pete downtown specifically. Let's hear your thoughts on both of them.
So I want to divide it up. St. Pete, downtown St. Pete. I'm big on the sunset. I I have it in my calendar to go to the beach every other Saturday, work permitting, weather permitting.
Yep.
And I'm pretty consistent. I've been going on Wednesdays though, because work has been doing its thing. But when I head to the beach, I head to the beach to get there for 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Yep.
Because all I'm interested in doing is sitting down, having a bottle of wine, and I'm waiting for the sunset. And this time of year, it's about 8:45. So I'm there. So it's either a beach or I'm going to go downtown St. Pete, which is now on the East Coast, right? So now the water views are the bay.
Yep.
And so I go down there for dining and clubbing. The other day I was there at Janice Landing, which is this little concert venue, to see Steel Pulse. It was pretty cool. I love everything about downtown. You can walk it. There are different areas that you can go to. But yeah, that's I'm from New York, New Jersey. So
me too.
My need for a city, Tampa and St. Pete meets that. And the other thing about Tampa downtown is I've watched it move from a commuter city to what it is now. And I have to say, they are going to start competing with St. Pete. I was in Channelside the other day, first time down there for dinner, because there's a couple of new hotels, right? And I was very pleased with the upscale active, the upscale side of it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to doing some more exploring down there too.
Yeah. And then when you're talking about St. Pete, talk to me about some of your favorite places, whether that be hotels. Let's break it down. How about that? When you're talking, let's break down both, because let's kind of make it into a little bit of a this or that, because that's kind of what the title is anyway. So let's talk about restaurants first, because I'm a foodie at heart. I love that. I'm going to tell you, Tampa, you visit St. Pete a lot, right? So down in Tampa, if we're talking Water Street area, Boulan is a great place for drinks, right? Then I'll go across the street. The Pearl probably has some of the best food, most consistent to me. And they have, if you're gluten-free and you need that, they've got an amazing gluten-free menu. They're super accommodating there. And it never hurts to see Ric Flair, because I think that's a funny one every time. That guy lives there. So if you're ever down there, he's probably there too.
Always at the Marriott. That's where you can catch him.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, folks, if you are watching, I know a couple of you guys are joining us here. I appreciate you. But, drop some questions or your experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to engage on these lives here. But then one of my favorites, and I always say this, is to run over to the Columbia Cafe. So the Columbia restaurant is a staple here in Tampa. And it's so easy just to jump over to the cafe. It's casual. And they have a limited menu, but the menu is phenomenal. You can still get their 1905 salad. You can still get the red sangria. You can get the Cuban sandwich and the fresh Cuban bread. I mean, it's not a better cafe in my mind to just be able to pop into than right there, right? And then one of my high school buddies, Big Ray's Fish Camp right there at the Sail Plaza, the Sail Pavilion. That's great, conch fritters, grouper sandwich. And again, you're going to catch the sunset. And then if we're talking about sunsets, I know it's a little bit of a stretch out of downtown, but man, Eulalie, you can catch a great sunset looking at the water, outside vibe. And you've got that Florida-esque type, menu with char-grilled oysters, jalapeno margaritas, you name it. It's just a really great atmosphere. So to me, that's
indoor and outdoors. Eulalie.
Yep. And we didn't jump into bars yet, but that's just, to me, that's the restaurant setup that you have there. What do you got at St. Pete?
So one of my favorite places is the Canopy Rooftop Bar.
Yep.
It's a historical hotel, maybe 12 stories high. So it's not really tall. And in general, I'm always looking for the new rooftop bar. And both Tampa and St. Pete are still coming up with some new ones.
Oh, yeah.
That whole Miami Beach strip that I was talking about, tons of different restaurants. The Ceviche's is there. If you know that one. So it's tapas food. And there's an Italian place, I can't think of the name right now, that's right at the entryway to the pier. But it doesn't matter. They're all good. And then I got to find my way up to Central Avenue, because I got a couple of nice places over there too.
And that the pier has the rooftop kind of bar setting too, and also a nice restaurant out there as well. But you're up there.
Yeah, it's pretty funky, man. I mean, it feels weird, but it's a heck of a walk.
It's a heck of a walk.
But if you got family and the kids with you, you can't think of any better place to go enjoy being out in the water. And it's a great concert venue down there too.
Right.
They have a little beach. I actually did, looking for something to do, keeping it simple for New Year's Eve. That's where I took in New Year's Eve.
There you go.
Sat in a chair and it was beautiful.
Phil, us young bucks need to go hang out with Clive because it looks like he's doing it right.
Well, I've been taking some notes, so don't worry.
Yeah. So all right. So if you had to compare just right off the cuff, food, who wins? Downtown St. Pete or downtown Tampa?
It's still downtown St. Pete for me. Because listen, the development that's going on down there is ridiculous. And so I subscribe to St. Pete Rising. If you guys get a chance, Google that. It's a community letter. It tells you all things new about what's going on in St. Pete. And a steakhouse and martini bar, the Ball Holla, just opened in St. Pete. And I get this weekly, and every week there's at least 2 or 3 new restaurants planned. Renovations of some kind of a building that's going to be a beautiful restaurant setting. So, big chefs are coming through. So I'm spending my time there, but I will say I got to work on my channel side to see what's going on over there because there's more to it.
You got to get down there, man, because like I said this in multiple videos. One of my perfect 24 hours in Tampa is it's really an experience that I had, and I just shared it with folks. But it was my wife and I went down to Water Street area, and we just had no plans. And all the areas that I told you, Boulan, the Pearl, Columbia Cafe, we just crawled through all of it, kind of walked hand in hand and went all the way to Armature Works. I mean, just made an entire night of it. And it was cool because, especially when you don't expect it, there was a live band in front of the Strat Center. There was a live music playing at the Columbia Cafe. There was a DJ at Tampa Edition up top. I mean, along the way, we probably hit 5 or 6. I mean, Armature Works had a live acoustic outside. I mean, there's 5 or 6 different versions of live music outside. I just thought that was a really neat thing. And it was all free. It was free not to eat and drink, but to experience and walk through everything. It was free. So,
but Adam, cool. I got a question for you because you have kids. If you were to pick between Tampa and St. Pete, where would you spend the day?
That's a good one, man. That's a really good one. I think Tampa. With kids. I think St. Pete's geared a little bit more towards adults now that I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I really.
Yeah. The venue in St. Pete that would meet the kids' expectations is the pier. That's a nice place to take them. They have a water park in there, a little bit of a water park. So, they're in there with the bathing suits trying to cool off. You can spend a day out there, but I think Tampa has more offerings from a young family.
Yeah, we've got Waterworks, Curtis Hickson. They like to run up and down all that stuff. There's a playground down there. There's a bunch of parks, across that. So you could kind of compare next. What are the parks within the two? I mean, on the Tampa side, you got Curtis Hickson. So we're always doing Rock the Park and all kind of concerts and events. I know at Christmas time, they do ice skating rink out there, and they have a bunch of events going on. There's parks, I mean, all up and down. I mean, there's all the way from Water Street. There's one there. Dogs are always in there. And there's a playground over there right next to the Columbia Cafe. And then as you kind of circle back around, there's one midway. There's a dog park. And then as you get to the bottom, there's the Waterworks and the playground there as well. So, but you do have parks. And actually across the street from that, you have the Julian B. Lane Park as well. That being said, St. Pete's got a ton of great ones, and I think Vinoy is just hands down amazing on that water. Walking the Vinoy,
that's a picnic.
Right, I like to actually go further than that. I like to go historic Old Northeast to Coffee Pot Bayou and in there, and take that all the way waterfront to the pier. I think that's a perfect strip.
Agree.
But
by the way, my last restaurant to hit on in Tampa in Ybor is Santo Stefano, where we host our employee client appreciation days. Great Northern Italian restaurant with a rooftop bar.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. So So what I'm hearing is that so far St. Pete's got better restaurants. I don't know on parks, it's a little bit of a different vibe. How about getting around both of them? Getting around both of them. I'm gonna have to say St. Pete so far, but it will change because I think the trolley expansion and all that is gonna help. But yeah, I definitely think St. Pete, because when we got on that, trolley in St. Pete, man, it's a perfect route. And the benefit that St. Pete has over Tampa is just how congested everything is. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I guess concentrated would be a better word for that. But yeah, here's an interesting one. Let's get into a little real estate, and I'll take good and bad. Thomas, moved to St. Pete last year, have loved it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I feel there's so much development. I just hate all these YouTube videos being posted saying that St. Pete and Tampa's housing market are going to crash. Yeah, man, that's a good one. We've been doing a lot of research on that. Obviously, as realtors, our focus is on the markets and always understanding what that is. I can tell you right now, just a very quick version, not to get into it. I think I actually want to touch on that next week with one of our mortgage reps, see if I can get them on. But, as interest rates are starting to come down a little bit into the low to mid sixes, we're starting to see those buyers come back around but they're still a little hesitant. They're like, wait a minute, a little bit more. And I feel like there's going to be an avalanche there. But while we're waiting for that to happen, we have seen an influx of inventory. So that has definitely slowed the pace down of our market. And I'll tell you what, man, it's really healthy right now. Our market is really healthy that a house sits on the market for 30 days. I know that, and that our houses, I think year over year from last year, this time to now, it was like a 2 to 4% increase in median home price. So that's a beautiful market. That's where you want it to be. You don't want double digit increases or decreases. If our market pulls back 2 or 4%, I think that's a great place to be too. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Our housing market has a lot of stability right now, and I'm excited for the direction it's going in.
And we're still seeing a lot of demand. We're still seeing a ton of demand too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if I might add, it depends on your definition of what a crash is, right?
Yeah.
The last time and the first time the market ever crashed was back in 08, 09. And
I want to say that a crash by definition is 20% or more of a drop.
Right. Yeah. And so they put a lot of things in place to prevent that from happening. So I just can't fathom that there would be one. And also I want to say that, what you're listening to is, I don't know if you listen to just specific Tampa and St. Pete, but most people are listening to the global aspect of what's going on in our industry across all the cities and, across the state, the country. And so they apply that to Tampa, and we're not behaving like that. We're slowly starting to feel it a little bit, but we're, as Phil said, the demand is still there. And the good news is if the demand is there and there's inventory, then we're going to be okay. And wait till interest rates drop.
Hey, Thomas, real quick. I'm sorry. I see that you use the bike trail to get almost everywhere in St. Pete. I love that, man. I love that somebody's getting around, and I don't want to say walkability, but bikeability. That's a nice feature there. But Thomas, if you're still on watching us, shoot down some of your experiences, jot them down in the comments. I'd love to kind of share that with the folks viewing, since you live there and you use the bike trail. Sounds like you're a pretty good local at this point. Tell us some of the features that you love about St. Pete. I'd love to see those. Phil, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, and I think it's also too, it's important to know the difference between a crash and a correction, right? So, this is more, if anything, more, maybe we're starting to find a healthy correction, right? Because the last I looked is we're at about that 4% number, of inventory. And,
4 months.
Yeah. 4 months, of inventory. So, right, really at that 6 month mark, right? That's like that healthy point. So we're starting to get closer to that level. But at the same time, I would say this is more of a consolidation period, and we'll waiting to see what the Feds do with the rates, see what type of cuts we're looking for. And I think, like I said, just maybe you're seeing some people be on the sidelines right now, not just wanting to pull the trigger right away. So everything we're seeing, honestly, like I'm glad it's actually kind of happening, to be honest. It needs to.
Absolutely. Now, what about sports in downtown St. Pete? I got to give I'm trying to find downtown Tampa won. Okay.
You mean Champa Bay?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, Tampa Bay's only as good as last year, right?
True. But they earned it.
And there's not a bigger fan of the Tampa Bay sports than myself. I'll still wear a creamsicle sometimes for the Bucks. Okay, so we got the Tampa Bay Lightning in downtown with the Amalie Arena, and then downtown St. Pete we've got technically the Rowdies. Mm-hmm. You can say Tropicana Field with the Rays. Which one are you going to give it to?
All right. Well, hold on. Let's start here, right? So Vinnick obviously owned the Lightning for a long time, right?
That's right. That's right.
Who is one of the biggest investors in Water Street?
Vinnick.
Right. So, a lot of the entertainment and everything that was created, right, was always created from the Lightning. So I feel that they have definitely tailored the city more around, the fan base. So now here's the thing.
Would you say that they tailored it, or would you say that the community are big supporters because Vinnick invested a lot into our community?
Well, I mean, he's definitely done a lot of that, and he's done a fantastic job of that. But also, too, like think about Water Street. You come right out of that arena, you got bars, you got restaurants, you got everything's right in front of your face, right? So, and then again, right, that's in the now. But does St. Petersburg, there's a big future there, right?
We're talking about right now, though.
Right now, Tampa.
Because if we can't say, Tampa's future is exploding. I mean, we're comparing downtown St. Pete right now to Tampa right now. So
if you walk out of Amalie Arena right now, there's endless things to do. You don't have to get in a cab. You can walk right over to it. St. Petersburg, you're gonna have to schedule, arrangements to travel.
Currently, right now, we're downtown where the Tropicana Field is. Number one, the Trop has a hard time filling its seats. Number two, which, by the way, my kids love it, man. I love going to the Trop, petting the Stingrays. Got to get a hot dog at the game. You got to go get Dippin' Dots. Like, it's a great experience for the kids. But pre-gaming, there's Ferg's right around there. That's about it, right? So outside of that, there's not a lot of pre-gaming to be had with a sports venue over there, right? Yeah. Whereas you hit it on the head when it comes to a Lightning game. The Lightning games are electric, right? Literally, they have lightning bolts shooting off. But the games are just amazing. The people are wearing the jerseys around everywhere, walking up and down downtown. And then the Rowdies are pretty much abysmal, man. Like nobody. I mean, I've been to a couple of Rowdy games. My daughter plays soccer.
Yes. But how about you, Clive? You been to a Rowdies game?
I've taken Elijah, my big brother, big sister, to the games. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have never been to one.
So can we just button this up and say that Tampa's got sports?
Let's do it. Yep. Sorry, Clive.
All right, so had to put Tampa on the map there. So St. Pete for restaurants, downtown St. Pete for restaurants, right? And getting around. And we didn't touch into this too much, but museums, folks, if you're watching, museums, honestly, at both are amazing, but very different vibes. I think downtown St. Pete has the Chihuly Museum or collection, which is those blown glass, just crazy stuff. You don't even have to be into art to enjoy that. The Salvador Dali Museum is a massive one down there. And the the Morejon Arts building there. They have a lot going on. So like really they have a ton going on over there. On the Tampa side, you've got the Glazers Children Museum. You've got the Tampa Bay Arts, Tampa Bay Photographic Museum. Some of these, honestly, I've never even been. Well, I didn't go to up until recently. It's like living here and growing up here. I think I was walking on the Riverwalk shooting a video and it said like 100th year anniversary of the Tampa Bay History Museum. And I was like, we have a history museum? But I ended up going because of it. I saw it and I was like, man, I want to go. But what I will say is like the Tampa Bay History Museum, it was kind of neat because they had a pirates expedition where they had, or exhibition, where they had all the pirates that basically used to run the Florida waters, right? The coast of Florida, all those treasures and things like that they found from the wrecks, the shipwrecks. They had them on display. And my daughters just were like, we want to see real treasure. We want to see swords and pirate ships and stuff. So it was kind of cool to see that And then while we were there, they had like the history of baseball. You know, Babe Ruth hit his longest home run, and he signed his contract right at University of Tampa. So things like that were kind of neat to see there and to understand. So it was kind of cool. But guys, I don't know. I think we've done pretty good here covering this. You know, we've had some input from folks. I would definitely say that to kind of tie a bow on it is that no matter which one you go to, Tampa, downtown Tampa and downtown St. Pete are absolutely amazing. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and give the crown to downtown St. Pete today. But as we were talking about, Phil, I think downtown Tampa is up and coming. And, you know, I think that you cannot go wrong with visiting either of them. And for us locals that live here, it's just like having two different playgrounds right in our backyard that we get to enjoy. And yes, we share it with tourists, but it's pretty nice and easy to get in and out of. And that's our daily routine. In fact, I'm going to be going there this weekend. So, folks, if you're watching, thank you for joining us. And, you know, definitely check out our channel. Catch our Sunday video coming out. You're going to love it. This one's going to be all about the new neighborhoods coming up. And until that next video, we will catch you later. See you, folks.
All right, guys.